Does that have any type of influence on your career, Tennessee? Music capital?
No, I would say not. I just grew up playing the piano and not doing country music, or I was more of a rock and roll kind of girl.
Love it. See, I don't know if I saw that. I don't know if I pictured that when I looked at you.
Yeah.
You got a little edgy
It
there.
was it was um it was very strange because I grew up playing classical music, all classical piano, but I only listened to rock and roll,
I love
like,
it.
Led Zeppelin and, hard rock. And I never listened to I still don't listen to classical music. I listen to rock and roll, but I play and enjoy classical music. And I don't know very many piano teachers like that. Most piano teachers, kind of, they don't know about rock and roll.
You need to merge the two there because I kind of want to see rock and roll merged with classical.
You
Does
can
that
do that.
exist?
Sometimes it's a little cheesy. I
You prefer the straight up rock and roll, huh?
there's the way to do rock and roll on piano is you either are born with a gift of knowing just how to play the piano without proper instruction, without formal instruction.
Yeah.
Okay? And you understand chords and you understand how music works without somebody telling you. There are people born that way. I'm not one of them. Or you have the training and are taught and understand how chords and music are put together, and then you can take that into, playing with a band.
Break the rules and create your own rules.
Yeah. So,
I love it. I know there's a boy I follow. He's like, it's his mom's account, but he's like 6 years old. And he is just self taught, just, yeah, amazing.
it is. It is a gift. It's hard to fathom how brains can do that.
I agree.
And they can just play all over the piano, and nobody's told them how to do that.
Any of it.
It's fascinating. It's unbelievable that can happen.
That can happen. I agree. So tell me a little bit about your business. Why did you start it? What do you love about it? Like, what's your, passion behind what you do?
It's a story that you also won't see coming. I was working in the FBI lab. This is a career change.
What the heck?
I was working in the FBI lab doing DNA typing and DNA research. And I was also at the same time playing for Northern Virginia community theater musicals. And I'd done that for several years, and that's where my true passion is, not necessarily theater, but in playing with other people and playing for other people, instruments, singers, whatever. I just really enjoy playing with other people. So that was my niche, so to speak, of working for the government and just playing. I also had a church job to also help me practice or give me goals to practice for. And that's, once again, you play in a church, you're playing with people or for people, to sing, and that's what I really enjoy. And just, it was coincidental that there was a theater friend of mine who asked me to teach his kids. And I thought, well, I know how to play the piano, but I don't know how to teach. What do you do? And there was another friend of mine also in the theater who had taught piano. So she told me what to do, and so I did, and I went to their house, and I found that I liked it, and I also found that the kids were asking me questions that I couldn't really answer, and I thought, if I want to keep doing this, I need to be educated in music. I need to be able to answer these questions. So that's what was missing in working in the lab. Is I do well in one-on-one situations. That's my comfort zone. And I miss that interacting with people, working in the lab. And so I thought, okay, I can teach piano because I know how to play the piano, but I need to learn how to teach and, like I said, be educated in music. So I started taking classes at Nova, night school for 2 years, so I could get undergraduate prerequisites to get into grad school. And so that's kind of how I did that. So 2 years at Nova, and then 2 years, then I quit my job and went full time as a grad student at Shenandoah,
Wow.
and then moved to Ashburn, and that was it.
How many years ago was that?
25,
Oh,
exactly.
Wow. So you've been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated?
The one-on-one, every day is different, every kid is different. I think one of the favorite things of my job is meeting new students.
Yeah.
You need,
See what you're going to get into?
yes, but trying to figure out, everybody's different.
Yeah.
They all have different learning abilities. They have different musical abilities. They have different commitments to practicing. They have different, maybe issues in their life. And so I really enjoy trying to figure out how to motivate this particular kid, trying to figure out what their learning style is and the best way to approach. If there are issues at home, sometimes you have to wear a psychologist hat.
Yes.
Sometimes. And I just enjoy each individual person.
So you're coaching them on more than just piano, it sounds like.
Sometimes yes,
Yeah.
other times no. Some kids are very closed and they will not let you in. And sometimes, if you might think it's extreme, I find that my job is just to make them smile. And I spend the whole 45 minutes working hard to try to get them to smile because of whatever, either their personality or what's going on in their life.
I do the same thing with the camera in my hand with adults upstairs. No.
Yeah.
No, I get it. But
So
music might be that conduit, though, that might kind of...
because I want them to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I want them to enjoy music. And if I can't make them smile, then I don't know if they're having a pleasant, enjoyable experience or not.
Yeah.
If they do smile, then we're good.
Yeah, I've got a 12-year-old that, yeah, I'm always thinking the same thing. Are you happy right now? Because he doesn't like express his emotions the way my other two kids
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, what type? So how are you set up? Do people come to you? Do you go
Yes.
to them? Okay,
Yes.
so you've got a space
Yes.
in Ashburn, and they come in 45 minutes at a time, and you just pour your heart and soul into helping them.
Sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, but the majority of them are 45 minutes.
That's amazing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
The exact same place.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's an interesting question. I don't think that far ahead. I like to think that I will be doing less for my music teachers organizations. I'm heavily involved, and there's 3 of them.
Wow.
And I do a lot of work for them.
What type of work?
For me, it's a lot of computer stuff, primarily, to help with events. Piano teachers collaborate, even though if we live nearby, we're competitors, okay? But we also come together and put on events for students to play, to give them opportunities,
That's nice.
to play for other teachers to get feedback, or sometimes some of the events are for awards, trophies. There's a variety. There's a lot of opportunities for students to play.
Nice.
And so I do a lot of the scheduling and organizing and computer-oriented things.
They're like, this woman's got those skills. Let's let her help on that front.
Yeah.
So you want to do a little bit less of that over the next 5
I would
years?
like to do a little bit less because I've been doing it a lot for a number of years. And we need younger people to step in and learn how to do
Look at you
this
wanting
stuff.
to pass the baton on to the next.
That would be really nice.
So if you're not helping these organizations and you're not actually one-on-one working with students, what are you doing? Like what are other hobbies or passions? Where do you spend your time besides Tennessee?
I like gardening. And believe it or not, I would still be teaching. If I had more time, One of my favorite experiences in my life was tutoring, like third graders in math and reading, which is volunteer work. That was an amazing experience.
Why did you like
That
it so
was
much?
really cool. Because the kids, this was in DC, and I was going to a school there, and the kids they don't, well, some of them do express appreciation. I can give you a couple of examples. There was one girl I was working with, and I saw her in the hall one day, and she was, you know how kids stand in line in elementary school. She was in line to do something, and I was coming down the hall, and she broke out of line, and she ran down the hall to give me a hug.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, really?
You're like, walk, don't run, but walk faster.
Then there was another kid, and this was one of my favorite tutoring stories, was he was doing math. Now I got two of them. There was one kid doing, and he couldn't I was trying to teach him how to do 2 digits of multiplication, like 24 times 36, and you know, you got to line it up right.
Yeah.
And he finally got it, and he says, you know, my mom's been trying to get me to do that, and I just never could figure it out. He said that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that was his way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing. And then there was another kid who I was trying to get him to do math. No, he didn't want to do math, and he just was very obstinate. And this is all one-on-one, working like in a library, just separate, one-on-one. And I didn't want to give up on him, and so I thought, okay, well, what is it that you do like? What are you interested in? And he liked science. Like, okay, so I got this little science encyclopedia book for, you know, third graders. So I was looking in there and trying to figure out, well, what can I tell him and what can we talk about? So I showed him his pulse. And so I showed him how to take his pulse. I know, he thumbed and went to the part that said health. Mm-hmm. And so when I showed him how to take his pulse, and then he'd never done that, and he got so excited and so happy, and I was trying to get him back to math.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you want to go back to your classroom, or do you want to stay here and do math? And he was so excited about that he
Such
decided
a nice threat.
he wanted to do math. And so
Yeah.
we stayed and did math.
Oh, I love that.
And that's really cool.
It's nice that you're able to see how kids express appreciation, gratitude, excitement, even if it's not in the normal, thank you so much, I love this type of,
Right.
you know,
They just get
exchange.
Excited.
Yeah.
And
Can see the light kind of
Yes.
turn on in their eye.
And that's really cool.
So now I see why you love doing it so much. I actually really love kids too. I used to work at CASA, the after school program, and I absolutely loved it. I felt like all those kids were my kids.
Yeah.
You know, like I took
Yeah.
personal responsibility for all of their success and just the after school program. So I get it. Okay, so 5 years, you're still doing the exact same thing and you're excitedly passionate about all of it. What's
A
the
little
type?
less computer work.
A little less, that's right. A little less of the computer work. What's the type of impact you want to make in this world?
The impact is on individual kids, because that's who I deal with. I don't deal with groups. Well, I do. The music teachers groups. Those are groups of people. And I like to think that I have helped them, some people, learn how to run events. I've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
There's another piano teacher friend of mine, and we joked that if we quit teaching piano, we could be event planners.
There we go. Career number 4. No.
Yeah. The one of the ones I do scheduling for is for about 400 kids, and there's another one I do scheduling for about 800 kids. So running those events, creating a successful event means that it's well organized and everything runs fairly smoothly. There's always going to be issues to come up, but overall, if you can have a good event, and then which provides a positive place for the kids to have their performances, then you've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a memory for them. You know, they remember these, you know, they remember this festival, they remember this competition. And so that's part of the impact, is just giving good experiences and memories for these kids, helping the teachers. Some teachers get, there's one event in particular where the teachers play with their kids, so it requires 2 pianos. And those teachers, for a variety of reasons, sometimes get really uptight. Maybe because they're also performing,
Yeah.
or because all of the other events, the students are anonymous and nobody knows who their teacher is. But in this case, we do know who their teacher is. They're sitting right there and they're playing for them. And it's a pretty stressful event. And so that was my first one. I've been doing that since 2003. And when I first started and I saw how uptight, you know, these people are, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is music. And the pieces are called concertos, where you play for the 2 people. And concertos are the most fun because you get to play with your teacher.
Yeah.
And that's what I did when I was a kid. I loved playing concertos, and I thought it was the coolest thing that my teacher had to practice to play with me. And so I want these people to enjoy concertos and not be so, you know,
Stress.
yes. And so that was my mission, is to make this event into a low pressure, everything's okay, let's just enjoy the festival.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of my impact. I like to think is to have pleasant, non-stressed events.
I love that because, you know, I feel like the piano world is this perfection and
some of it is
performance. So it's great that you can inject a little bit more of that laid back
You
fun.
are exactly right. And these teachers, one of the groups, the biggest one has about 350 members, the Northern Virginia Music Teachers Association, and we have over 30 events per year, and some of them are highly competitive, like what you're imagining.
Yeah.
And then others are just low pressure. Some of them are just a general recital where you just show up and play and then you go home.
Yeah.
So there's a large variety of opportunities, low, medium, and high competitiveness, and which is good, you know, that you get to offer.
A nice little mix.
Mm-hmm.
How do you currently get your students? Like how do you market?
The majority of them come from referrals from other parents.
Yeah. It's just the best.
Yeah, that is the best.
Have you done anything outside of that?
You mean as far as marketing? Yes. A few years ago, I coincidentally had 6 graduating seniors, and I also had a couple of openings in my studio, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a whole lot of empty space when these kids graduate. And I didn't panic, but I was kind of, I had to do something. So I created a website, and I told some of my piano teacher friends, and you have to tell everybody. You have to tell your parents, and you don't tell them by email, you tell them one-on-one to get the most impact, and say, I've got seniors, and you don't want them to think that you're not going to have, you know, that you've got these openings, but if you've got people graduating, you got to fill those slots. So you tell the parents, tell piano teacher friends, because if they're full, they will send you referrals. And then having a website is really important. And then being on another place where I used to get a lot of students was one of these organizations is the Fairfax Loud Music Fellowship, who has a website, and they list teachers and their information if you want to be listed on their website. Yeah. So I used to get a lot of referrals through that website. So that's...
You had a lot of little buckets that you used.
Yes, that's what you got to do.
Do you currently have any openings?
No.
Shucks. No, I'm like, wait, my 8-year-old wants to start learning. So if you have any referrals, maybe you can.
Now that I can do.
Okay.
You have my
I
information.
do. Okay, so to wrap things up, what is one message that you would love to send to the world? Like if you had a megaphone and you could say one thing to everybody, what would that be?
Wow. Let it go. Don't get stressed over things that are not so important. But I'd also like people to just enjoy music and enjoy some of the things that they have in their life and not be so uptight about, well, I can't answer that question without giving an example of a conversation I just had with a parent this week. And that parent wants her high school student to do this testing program in piano. And it's a perfectly fine program. All of the tests are it's a really good program, but it's not for this kid. And I tried to tell her that a couple of years ago, and she kind of moved away, and then she came back to it because she needs to measure progress. That's what I think there's too much of in Northern Virginia. Too many people are measuring progress when the progress should be measured by how much you're enjoying what you're doing. And so just this week, I'm talking to her again, and she used the word, she described her daughter as an artist. And that was my door to go through and say, I was put it back on her. You said your daughter's an artist, then this testing, measuring program is not for her. And you got to let it go. And just measure her progress by the fact that she will stay in piano if she doesn't have to take these tests.
Yeah, you're so right. That's such a good piece of feedback in terms of like how to approach things in your life, if it's a passion or if you feel artistically, pulled in a direction.
Yeah, if you're just doing it and loving it, you don't have to take tests. You don't have to have a measuring stick. But Northern Virginia is...
Run by measuring sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. It is.
I love that. Thank you so much. You were so much fun to talk with today. I loved our conversation.
Well, thank you.
Rock and roll FBI music teacher.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.